Okay, listen, folks, when we do props on our show, please don't take them too seriously because somehow after last week, I was eating a pumpkin spice donut in our cold open here. We ended up with this situation. Uh, JB, what is that?
That is the Quick Trip Glazers Bowl trophy that will be handed out to the winner of the Wisconsin Lutheran Carroll game this weekend. Wow, look at that. We talked about it a little bit on the Reddit space that we were on last night. Thanks to Reddit College Football for having Frank and I on. We were talking past 10 o'clock. Maybe that's why we're a little bleary eyed this morning for this Friday live show. We might need some more coffee and one of these Glazers donuts right here. Looks pretty good.
No kidding. In fact, I did not get my donuts today, so I'm feeling a little bit logy. So um, let's get back to us for a second. There's something else, JB, that I think you kind of want to address in the interest of equal time, and all the stuff I've picked on you about over time. Would you like to address this issue?
Yeah, apparently there's actual video of a certain elected political official attempting to line dance out there, and it's a bit salacious, kind of could be scandalous. You know, let's roll the tape and let's see what's going on here up in Boston Spa. I've heard some rumors that there's some funny business happening on there with a certain mayor. Electric slide. You got some pretty good form, Frank.
Got the face
Okay.
too. The face going. Yeah, serious
Bass
face.
is on. Yeah, Frank's digging the bass.
Look at that face.
Hey, look at that. Look at that. Oh my God, this is the best thing I think that's ever been on this show.
Welcome
Hey,
to
you
season
got when
15.
you're the mayor of a town, you gotta roll with it. You gotta be there for the people, even if it requires doing the electric slide.
Welcome to season 15 of In the Huddle. Might be having some minor difficulties, it looks like, again, with our broadband stream, but it seems to be straightening back out here. Don't move too much, JB. That's the key. Don't move, and it'll be much lower broadband that we're wasting. Yeah, just stay in that position. You're doing great. We have a guest coming on in a little bit, and they actually just showed up. So let's do this. Let's talk about Region 1 and 2 games real quickly, and then we will bring on our guest in a second here to talk about one of the games that is on this list. JB, take it away.
Yeah, so starting tonight, we have about four games kicking off, starting at 6 and then at 7 p.m., mostly in New England. The one I think that stands out to me tonight, anyway, is that Endicott versus WPI game. The Engineers seem to be an improved team. Endicott still kind of the standard bearer for New England D3 football. But then you jump to Saturday, and there's some really interesting matchups in regions 1 and 2, some of them kind of cross region. Randolph Macon's coming up from Region 3 to play Catholic. Mass Dartmouth versus Anna Maria, a couple of teams that are conference championship contenders this year. Rowan versus Springfield is an interesting game. That was a match last year that Springfield actually they rolled over the Profs. Can they do it for the second year in a row? Brockport versus Ithaca, great upstate New York rivalry between two strong programs. And then the game that I know that you're going to be at, Frank, is kind of the Engineer Bowl or the really smart guys bowl. Carnegie Mellon takes on RPI in Troy, New York at the ECAV. It should be an exciting game. I think we sort of differ back and forth on some of the games of the week, but it seems like we agree that that Carnegie Mellon RPI game will be exciting in Region 2. Although, hey, I mean, Brockport Ithaca is always a top-notch one, but Rowan Springfield was my pick. Randolph-Macon Catholic was yours for Region 1. What do you think, Frank?
I think that it is a close 1-2 in Region 2. Brockport Ithaca for me is definitely a number 2, close to this Carnegie Mellon RPI game. In some respects, it might be the best game in the region. It's like picking favorite children, really, when you look at this over our history of the show. But JB, I want to kind of pull back out for a second here, and we have a guest coming on in a second here. And for folks that didn't see this back in, I want to say February, here's the little announcement, and you'll see some, I think, jubilation related to the fact that he was the pick of Ithaca.
And right now, I'm very pleased to introduce in person your next head football coach.
We'll ask him to turn his camera on here. Yeah, there it goes. So we'll bring him in right now. Michael Terper, Ithaca Bombers head coach. Coach, take us back to that moment. How did that feel?
Still gives me chills, guys. My hair is standing straight up right now, and it's really about just loving being with those guys every day, and just building relationships with them. When I was here before, going through the recruiting process for a lot of them, and watching them grow, and now being here with them in their junior and senior and fifth years, it's been pretty special.
For those that don't know, you had a history of being their defensive coordinator for a number of years, and then left for Holy Cross for a couple of years. Had a great experience there. They did well under your tutelage, and then came back. Why do it? Why come back after getting into the FCS range of the world? I understand head coaching is important when it comes down to it, but why do it? In your own words.
It was a really tough decision, but actually ultimately one that, was a no-brainer at the end of the day. When we left Ithaca, my wife, who is an Ithaca alum, she's from the Binghamton area. When we left, it was a really tough call going over with Coach Chesney, who I just admire so much and wanted to learn not just defensively from, but just how to be a head coach, at that level, right? I think that was something that was important to me. But I told my wife when we left, she wasn't too thrilled about it, but she was excited about the new opportunity. I told her if this job ever opened up as the head job, then we'd certainly, put our name in the hat and come on back if we could. But certainly wasn't expecting it to be 2 years later. I thought Coach Swanstrom would be here for a little bit longer, but you don't get to pick your timing sometimes in life. So I'm glad the opportunity arose, and certainly it was something that I went after pretty hard because I wanted to be back here with this, Ithaca Bomber community, as well as those players, right, and the people that are attracted to this place.
One little random offshoot, Coach, is that actually I think one of your defensive players at Holy Cross, Cullen Hollahan, is a family friend. His dad, Trevor, and I are buddies. We've known each other for about 10 years. I know you guys had a great run there in the Patriot League, winning, I think, 2 or 3 titles during that time. But, Coach, I mean, right now you sort of parachuted into this great position. You've got a team that's loaded with fifth-year senior talent. Your offense pretty much came back almost 100% complete, minus Andrew Vito, who is a loss, but still you have a lot of talent on offense. You put up 51 points in week 1. Congratulations on your first win as a head coach. What was that like for you to kind of get that first game experience going into this year?
I was so much fun to just get on the road with those guys, a focus group that, again, that senior leadership, that veteran mentality that our guys bring to the table this year. They've been on road trips before. They understand how it goes. I was adjusting back to their schedule a little bit. And, just we talked about playing a clean game, playing complimentary football on Saturday. And we went out and did that from an administrative standpoint, from protecting the football, from making the plays when they presented themselves. I was really proud of the way we executed on Saturday, and we know there's going to be some really tough games ahead that it's not going to go as cleanly, but we've got to really make sure that we stick together. And I'm excited to see how we respond when we get some adversity. And, as you guys know, we got a tough opponent coming up tomorrow that there will be some ups and downs without a doubt in this game tomorrow.
The scouting report we got on Brockport coming into this year is that they had a lot of strong freshmen that didn't necessarily get playing time in 2021 that are rising up, and they're becoming a stronger team and will be doing that over the next few years. Is that an accurate portrayal of what you're going to be facing tomorrow? A lot of talented depth, but youth at the same time?
All I know about Brockport is that they run to the football, they hit hard, they're physical, they're gritty. They don't care how they win the game. They just want to win the game. And I got a lot of respect for Coach Mangone and his coaching staff and the group that he puts out in the field every week. So we know who they are. They know who we are. And it's going to be a really physical affair up in Butterfield Stadium tomorrow.
Coach, if I'm not mistaken, I think the very first play of your tenure as an Ithaca Bomber head coach was a 80-something yard touchdown return for off the opening kickoff, which is pretty rare because one of the things we talked about in our week one wrap up was that there were a lot of special teams errors that we saw, missed kicks, safeties, ball flying over, guys' head in the end zone, those kinds of things. As from a coaching perspective, especially, a lot of times special teams units are the younger guys. How do you coach them so that those little mistakes don't end up shooting yourself in the foot?
No, that was special. It was a 96-yarder, and for me, I've got a great offensive coordinator and offensive staff. I got a great defensive coordinator, defensive staff. When I came in as the head coach, I wanted to plug and play where I was needed. And, I am running the special teams this year. So for it to happen on the opening kickoff, it was exciting. But we talk about it all the time, special teams wise. It's got to be first and foremost about transferable fundamentals and techniques. Then you got to get, you make sure the right people are in the right places. And then we've got to have sound schemes that exploit opponents' weaknesses. So I think, we really focused on those little details of the special teams units last week, and hopefully we can do it again this week.
Coach, I generally ask this question early in the season. We're there right now still, so it's a little bit different for you, though, I think, because as JB points out, you kind of have a strong situation you're coming into. So, many first-year head coaches would say, I just want my players to play hard, the hardest they can every game and everything else. That'll be how I define a success of a season. But is that really the case here with Ithaca, or is it, anything short of a Liberty League win would be a disappointment in your mind right now?
Well, part of the reason I'm here, Frank, is because of the high expectations year in and year out. It's not going to be this year. It's going to be next year. It's going to be the year after that. Are the people that are involved with this program, the alumni of this program, expect us to be nationally competitive every year. And I think that's an expectation that I embrace. I would rather be at a place like this that expects to win than somewhere that's rebuilding, quite honestly. And I think, for us, we just got to be able to manage those expectations. And the way you do it is just focusing on, I know it's such a cliche answer, but focusing on one day at a time, one play at a time, 1 week at a time. I think when I first got here, the guys were really just down and just kept talking about the 4 points they could have had last year that would have changed the season. And, I really tried to quickly get that out of their minds and just focus on being the best they can today and being the best teammate they can and enjoying the process, enjoying being around each other. The camaraderie of this veteran group is second to none. And I think it's something that's laying the foundation so that for years to come, we continue to be competitive.
Those 4 points being, I believe, the RPI game that things just went a little haywire in for Ithaca ultimately. And JB, I'm trying to get you up to New York, possibly for this big game that's going to get played later in the season in the New York City area. Have you heard about this thing? It was maybe referred
Yeah, I
to
think
as the Corteca game or something like that last
Corteca,
night.
yes, yeah, right. We talked, Coach. We talked with the guys at Reddit College Football last night, and they support Division III, which is awesome. But it was kind of funny when they referred to that game as the Cortaca jug game. So
Hey, listen, Michael
maybe,
Cage's one of the Cortica, the Cortica Cup, but Michael Cage can call it whatever he wants. I don't care. It's fine.
exactly. I mean, that's obviously almost a whole nother season away, but I imagine you got a chance to go down to Yankee Stadium with Coach Fitz, and you guys did all the media. I think you threw out a first pitch at for a Yankees game. I mean, obviously you're focused on Brockport this weekend, but take us back to the summer and what that was like to get to go into the city and start really experiencing what it could be like in November.
You put your head coach hat on and you don't even want to think about it, right? You just don't even want to talk about it. It was, something that I had marked on my calendar going down there. I was like, it's taking me off my focus of getting ready for training camp. But you kind of got to look at it from a perspective like you'll never have this opportunity again as far as throwing out a first pitch at Yankee Stadium goes, right? I think every little kid grows up dreaming about doing something like that. And for me, and Coach Fitz, it was really cool to spend a lot of time with him and get to know him and his wife a little bit more. And it was a cool experience that I'll never forget. My son was there, my wife was there. It was just, and her parents were there who are huge Yankee fans. So, from that experience standpoint, it was very cool. And then, just the game itself, like how unique is it that a Division III team gets to go and play in Yankee Stadium, right? Just the same way it was back when we did it in 2019 in MetLife Stadium. And then we're going to have guys on the team, both Cortland and Ithaca will have players that have played in both MetLife and Yankee Stadium. And really, I don't think there's any college, unless you fact check me, guys. I don't think there's any college football players ever that have played in both during their college careers. So I think it's so cool. It's so great for Division III to be put on the national stage, right? Just, not just us, but everybody that's involved, for people to see how passionate Division III alumni bases are. That's just all part of it. And, we're excited that week when we get there, but right now it's one at a time.
Well, as fans of football, D3 or otherwise, I mean, both teams looked outstanding in week one. This has the potential of being a top 10 national matchup in week 11. So, we'll see how it goes. I mean, there's a lot of football left to be played, but both teams look really solid, and I'm excited for the players especially to have that really amazing, unique experience. And I might have to fly up to New York City for that. I mean, I know I've got a kid in Greenwich Village. I can crash on the air mattress. Frank, maybe you'll rent me out a room or something. That seems like a game I should be at.
Good. Yeah, absolutely.
I said it last night. There will be no poll that we normally do on our final week of games. Where does Frank go? Frank is going to Yankee Stadium. There is no doubt about that. And whether or not JB comes might be the poll. Ultimately, we have. Coach, speaking of players. I was just going to say, speaking of players, and I'll give you a chance to finish that thought. When you start up here, we normally give players shout-outs, but since you're a first-year head coach and a first appearance here on In the Huddle, we want to give you that opportunity for any shout-outs to any family, friends, or whoever might be watching. Coach Turper, it's all yours.
No, listen, I've had quite the college football journey, and just met some miraculous people along the way, and to my time back at Hopkins, all the guys that I coached down there, myself and Greg Camara are best friends, and all the guys that have gone through that program. I was there for 7 seasons. It was such a magical run. Dan Swanstrom was such an impactful guy, bringing me up to Ithaca, and I could never, thank him enough for that opportunity to be up here as a defensive coordinator. It was really special for me being a first-time DC, and then being at such a historic program like Ithaca. All the people that are involved in this program, not just from an administrative standpoint, our AD Susan Bassett, but all of the alumni that I've really developed great bonds with, and I believe in them, they believe in us, and we're excited to see where this thing goes. But and then all the players that I coached at Holy Cross, those are a special group of guys, and I'm just so fortunate to have been just ingrained in that program for a couple years, around Coach Chesney. I feel like I got my MBA in defense and my MBA in, just being a head coach. And I'm so thankful for the relationships that I've built along this coaching journey. And that's what makes this profession so special. It's the people that you come in contact with and you get to spend your days with.
Let me ask you, what's the biggest thing you learned from the late Jim Margraf over at Johns Hopkins? He's somebody that we all appreciated and loved, and were shocked when he passed away suddenly a few years back. Give us your thoughts on him real quick.
I mean, there's probably not enough time for me to express all the thoughts and gratitude I have for him and his family. He took me from a 20-some-year-old boy and kind of turned me into a man, and just being able to be around him every day and learn not just how to be a head football coach, but be a mentor, be a father. Now that I have a son, like, I want to be like him. I think he always told me that he always wanted to be a better dad than a football coach. And that always resonated with me, and it will continue to do so. And just, doing the right things for the right reasons is what he always preached to the team. And I think that's something that, we're judged every Saturday by how we perform on the football field and what our record is at the end of the year. But, the way that he made people feel on a day-to-day basis, whether it was his players, his coaching staff, his family, the administrator, like, no one ever has a bad thing to say about Coach Margraf. And I'm just forever grateful that I could be with him, spend those 7 seasons with him. And, if I talk any more about it, it'll get a little bit too emotional for me. But I love that man. I love his family. And I'm just so grateful for my time that I was around him.
Thanks for your candor. We do appreciate that. Good luck this weekend against Brockport. It will be a tough game as you begin to head toward, although it's a little bit away, the Liberty League schedule that you're going to be facing, which will also be pretty torrid once we get to that point in time. And I will definitely be stopping to see you either on the road or at Ithaca at some point in time.
On the hill.
Because you're going to be in the conversation. I'm almost certain of that with respect to the Liberty League and Region 2. Good luck to you.
Thank you. No, it's a great league. These coaches out here are recruiting their butts off. Everybody's getting better. Everybody's better since I left. So it's there's going to be no walks in the park in the Liberty League at all on a year-to-year basis. So we're just excited to be a part of it.
Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Appreciate your time.
Coach Michael Terper. Are you okay over there, JB?
Something got in my eye there when he was talking about Coach Margraf. You could just tell the level of respect and how he looked up to him as a mentor, maybe even to a certain extent a father type of figure. I mean, Margraf's legacy is pretty impressive, especially when you think of his coaching tree. And now I guess, if it's not going to be my Hobart Statesman going to the playoffs, man, I would love to see a Chimera versus Torper, Ithaca Hopkins playoff game. That could be a lot of fun, especially when you think about all the connections that those two guys have. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be the Liberty League is going to be a gauntlet, but hey, Ithaca was picked first by the coaches, and that's for a reason. They've got a lot of talent on that team. We'll see what happens.
Well, Greg was on the Family Feud. It would be a whole different type of Family Feud, basically, at that point. So, how's that for a little bit of a cliche scenario? But anyway, let's go back to our coverage here. Regions 3 and 4, I'll let you take it away again.
Well, as I said in our last show, Region 3 is going to be the star of this weekend. We'll just cover off on that first. Huntington versus Birmingham Southern will definitely have an impact on how playoff pods are built down the road. Huge game, kind of a Alabama state championship, if you want to call it that. Wheaton versus Trinity, a huge cross-regional game, both in the top 10. Trinity, if they win this game, puts themselves in a prime position down the road. Wheaton, though, always in contention for the CCIW title as well as a playoff spot. Huge game there. And then, some of the other interesting stuff going on. We saw Maryville give Barry a run for their money. Center, had to hang on against Hanover. That game has a chance to be really exciting. And then George Fox from all the way in the Pacific Northwest is coming down to Texas to play Howard Payne. Another interesting matchup. They beat Redlands last weekend, conference champion. So, hey, watch out for the Foxes. And then obviously another big game. Speaking of North Central and the CCIW, they'll be traveling to Indiana to take on Wabash. I'm pretty sure our friend Wally, a.k.a. Greg Thomas, will be watching that one very closely. Another interesting cross-regional matchup, 1-4, Widener versus Hampton-Sydney, which was in a shootout with Wabash last weekend. That game could have a lot of offensive fireworks. So take your pick. Any of these games are really outstanding. It seems like we agree as far as Region 3 with the Wheaton-Trinity matchup being the biggest one, although I guess Region 4 can't have Birmingham and Huntington in Region 4, Frank. That's a Region 3 team, so that's a little bit of a typo, I think. But I'll go with NCC and Wabash. I do feel, though, Huntington versus Birmingham Southern could be my Region 3 game of the week, even more so than the Trinity game, just because of the implications. The loser of the Wheaton-Trinity game still will be in prime position to potentially run the table and win a playoff spot, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
Yep, my goof on that one, how I put that. However, it kind of have Region 3 games a week there. If I had to pick a Region 4 situation, it is NCC Wabash as well, because of the implications and the fact that Wabash looked like a Jekyll and Hyde team last week. I'd like to see what they are exactly this week versus North Central, indeed. Finally, let's go to Regions 5 and 6.
Well, I mean, the first game on the upper left is pretty much what everyone's going to be talking about from a national perspective. The defending champs are going up to Wisconsin to play a Whitewater team that really didn't play that well in week 1 and could be, staring down at a 0-2 start, which is kind of a surprise. I can't even remember the last time that happened, and I've been doing this for 30 years. River Falls, an up-and-coming WIAC team, is going to St. John's. That could be an interesting matchup as well. Got a couple of other cross-regional things. Hendricks is shooting up to St. Louis to take on Wash U. Franklin versus Aurora is another interregional matchup between teams that have playoff aspirations and conference championship aspirations. Chicago versus Illinois College, kind of a local rivalry game there. And then UW Stout versus Wartburg. In the nightcap, we've got a couple of red-eye West Coast games that could be interesting. But I think overall, in Region 5, it looks like you're taking Franklin versus Aurora. I've got the Battle of Chicago, I guess, or Illinois on the line. That's pretty interesting. And honestly, Frank, though, what we have sort of left out here, and we talked about the Crusaders and the Warhawks. We forgot about that game about a donut. Where is Wisconsin Lutheran versus Carroll? And maybe now that we sort of let off with that, maybe that should be the game of the week, because hey, I mean, they've got the best trophy. Somebody's walking home with this beautiful thing. I mean, although it kind of looks like it could be arguably like a bagel, though. Doesn't it look like it could be like an everything bagel?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing on mute at you on that one, but actually it does, because it's got that kind of texture to it. The Glazers folks are probably not going to be sponsoring us after we've stated that out loud, so we'll see where this goes, basically.
Yeah.
Oy, how do we get ourselves in trouble without even trying? So, JB.
Beauty of live television.
People don't care about our takes on games. They care about our predictions on games, okay? And you can see there is a clock set right now at a certain time. And we need to perhaps get a little music in a moment here for everybody. Because if you don't have music, you don't have lightning predictions. I hear it loud and clear. You hear it loud and clear. You see the first game on the screen. The clock will begin when you start this time, because I believe I started last time. And that is going to be for Region 1, William Patterson at FDU Florham. When you start talking, the clock starts.
Both of these teams had a win, and congrats to William Patterson, their head coach, for his first college win. But also we had a first college win for FDU Florham. Geez, this is a tough one, Frank. But I guess I'll just lean a little on Patterson. They have a special teams unit that can score. They had a defense, I think, that caused some trouble. So I'll go with them. In a close game, 28-24.
Which team did you pick again? I just want to make sure I got this right.
Willie P
Well,
is my pick.
that's why I want to make sure FDU Florham, Van Kuren and company will get their second win as they're trying to prove to the world that they're not just a mid-pack MAC team as we saw last week against Merchant Marine Academy. TJ Brown, good quarterback indeed, and so Jimmy Robertson should be proud for how he got him matured up there. So it's going to be FDU Florham by the score of 27-20. Randolph-Macon at Catholic. Big game here in terms of just two teams that should be toward the top of their conferences, I believe, this season. So I'm going to go with Catholic this game, and by the score of, with Madden Lowe's arm, 31-28.
I'm going to go with Randolph-Macon. I think their spring season plus the fall. I mean, they're used to being in these big time kind of games. So I'll give them a slight edge, but it's gonna be a close one. I think it'll be like a 31-28 kind of barn burner.
Rowan at Springfield. That's you.
I feel like Rowan is on a mission to prove last year was a fluke. So I'm going to take the Profs to maybe kind of upset things on the road at Springfield. I think this is going to be a lot of offense, but the Profs will hang on and win 35-27.
I'm going to give it to Springfield. I believe that they have enough engines here, not to get cliche, but I think they have the ability to do this at home versus Rowan. So I'm going to say the Pride win this one with David Wells as quarterback, doing well right now, 30-24. And the next game, I will tell you, is coming up any second now on our screen. It's going to be great when it does. I know you're excited. I am too.
What happened to the technology upgrade that we had last week?
Yeah,
Is that already...
Brockport at Ithaca. We should have known. I'm going to pick Ithaca. I think Brockport's youth is still there, but it's going to be a great game. I think a great defensive effort ultimately, but Ithaca has enough guns to win this one, 21-17.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Andy Wingfield is probably the best QB in the Liberty League. He's got all 5 offensive line starters back. It'll be a defensive struggle, like you said, Frank, but I'll take the Bombers at home, say, maybe on a Baja Monday field goal, 17-14.
Carnegie Mellon at RPI. Go for it.
So RPI knows that we pick against them that gives them a better chance to win, right? Because that's what always happens. We pick against them and then they win. So why not? I'll say Carnegie Mellon will somehow, upset the apple cart. RPI still has a new kind of a quarterback getting up and running. That's a top defense. And by default, by picking Carnegie Mellon, watch the Engineers win this one. What do I know? 21-17.
Truth be told, I'm looking down here. Realistically, I have.
These teams have barely played each other. They've never. Last time they faced each other was like 1911. It was like 100 plus years ago. So they have no history. Anything's possible here.
Well, I'm looking back at my ballot, and I actually have Carnegie Mellon ranked number 16 in the nation right now, and I have RPI unranked. And so I'm not going to pick against myself on this one. I'm going to say that Carnegie Mellon wins this game. In another close one, I think. These are really good games you're picking here for us to pick. 24-17 again on this one. Next game up is going to be Huntingdon at Birmingham Southern. And, boy, this game too. I mean, is Huntingdon really that team that was only a touchdown away from beating or tying at least Linfield? I don't know. I really think that Birmingham Southern actually is going to win this game. I just had this notion that they're going to come out and take Huntingdon kind of the air out of their sails or wind out of their sails from what happened last week. Birmingham Southern wins the game 37-31.
Yeah, this is going to be a Saturday night blockbuster game, one of several. And, I think I'm also on board with the Panthers at home. Huntington is a strong team, definitely has a chance to win the USA South. But I think Birmingham Southern is, kind of just a little bit above them at this moment. So I'll take the Panthers to win it 37-28.
Definitely looking forward to this game. This is the game that kind of proves to me whether or not Trinity is who we thought they were at the end of last season, and that is Wheaton at Trinity, the Tucker Horn show at Trinity, who was kind of watching our Reddit CFB coverage yesterday, I know, and he appreciated the mentions, I know, for that matter, too. You start.
Oh, man. This is like, talk about picking between favorite kids. Both of either one of these teams winning wouldn't surprise me. It's a little bit of a longer road trip. It's pretty hot down here in Texas, in the South right now, so maybe that helps. I think it's going to be a defensive struggle, but I'll give it to the Tigers, 21-17.
It's tough. I think it's the maturity of the team right now that Trinity has in terms of the years of service by its main players that gives me the same notion to give them the edge at home. Trinity, I believe, will win this game by the score of 25-20. Next up, Widener at Hampton Sydney. Boy, the games I've just never imagined sometimes saying out loud, and we're seeing them. We're picking them ultimately here. Widener surprised us with that loss against Rowan last week, realistically, or at least me. I think you actually picked it correctly last week, but I don't think you necessarily would have been surprised if Widener won that game. And so I'm going to give Hampton Sydney the edge here again at home. Score here, 34-21.
Yeah, I think this is going to test the lights on the proverbial scoreboard. I think it's going to be like a 45-35 type of game, maybe 41. But I'll give the Tigers the slight edge at home.
Battle of former national champions, North Central at Wabash. Hit it.
Until somebody proves me otherwise, I feel like the Cardinals are still the number 2 ranked team in the nation. So I think they'll use their power run. They'll win this one 38-14.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I'm curious just to see if Wabash can keep it close. That's the key here for me. North Central wins at 47-17. I don't think it will be too close, at least at the end. Franklin at Aurora. I picked Franklin to make some noise in the Heartland, and I believe they're going to in this game. Aurora did not look like the same team without Gavin Zimmelman last week, and so Franklin, I'm going to give the Grizz an edge here in a high-scoring game, 41-37.
Well, finally, after we agreed on 6 picks in a row, I can say that I'm going with the home team, Aurora. We'll go with the BBs, and they could have pulled out that game against Hope. It was a close call, could have gone either way, but I'll take Aurora in this one, 38-35.
Chicago at Illinois College. Hit it.
Chicago's got that world-class running back. Illinois College, though, has those defensive backs that love to do the pick-6 routine. But I think Chicago's going to keep the ball out of the air, on the ground, and they'll edge their neighbors by, say, 28-21.
Yeah, a different class here for Illinois College to be facing. Chicago's going to be in the real, I think, proverbial ceiling of the Midwest Conference by the end of the season. This is a conference game, by the way, folks, which is rare this early in the season, but we have conferences in some cases with 10 teams doing that, so here we go. Chicago wins the game. I would say 28-20. Next up, Carleton, Wisconsin Lutheran. They're playing for
Carroll.
Carroll,
not Carleton.
Excuse me. Yeah. We'll fix that. Don't worry. We got this. That said, Wisconsin Lutheran is my favorite in this game, either way, but by a score of 28-21 again.
I got Carroll. They're more of a mid-tier CCIW squad. I think they just have a little more firepower. They had a little more success of late, so I'll take Carroll to bring home that donut, bagel, trophy, whatever it is. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. The conference to be determined, apparently. Yeah, you know what? We went through the entire show pretty well until that. Yeah, thank you, CCIW.
It's Friday.
Okay, River Falls at St. John's. You go first.
I think the Johnnies will probably do what they did last week and just capitalize on some turnovers. And this might be a little more of a, I don't know, but man, River Falls certainly puts up the points. I'll still take SJU, but it'll be like a 31-21 type of game.
Well, listen, JB, this is where things get a little crazy in our show tonight, or today. This is my D3Football.com quick hits upset of the week, actually. I have River Falls winning this game. I believe that coming off the high from last week, St. John's is primed to have a letdown scenario, and River Falls, if that's the team they're having a letdown against, can hold on to win this game. I have them winning 27-25 in this ball game. Yep, you heard me right. UMHB Whitewater. Okay, again, we got 37 seconds, but we may go a little long here. But looking at this game, I've said it multiple times to multiple people. This is not the games from last week. This matchup actually favors Whitewater more than last week's did insofar as how they match up against certain aspects of a team. The strength of UMHB is the offense. The strength of Whitewater is the defense. The teams that can beat UMHB, if there's anybody out there, are going to be able to take away a lot of the weapons they have on offense. Whitewater can do that. Does that mean they're going to win this game? No. It just means that this is going to be a closer game, and the defense of UMHB is going to have to play better than they did last week against Muhlenberg. They cannot give up nearly 400 yards to Whitewater. Otherwise, this could be a very long day for the Crew defense and the Crew team as a whole. UMHB wins this game 14-7.
Whoa. Okay. Well, I have the total opposite opinion of that. I think Mary Harn Baylor's receivers. I mean, Whitewater. Sure, they can stop the run, but I don't think they can stop guys like Brandon Jordan and KJ Miller. So I think it'll be a slow start, maybe a low-scoring game at the half, but second half should be where things stretch out. And I'll take the Crew to win this game 45-17.
And that is it for us, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope hope everybody is not going to be too upset with us for how we picked things and all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. JB, as always, give you the kind of the last word. But first, I want to tell folks, please. I know the camera's again a little delayed today. I do want to say that, but we're working on getting our technology right here. Your sound was good today, JB, so don't worry about that. But I wanted to send, again, our best to Trenton Duper. I had a conversation with him last night to see how his fourth treatment went. He said it was fine. It was a quick infusion scenario, but starting today, he's going to have his fifth treatment, which is actually going to keep him in the hospital for 5 days. And this, to me, seems like the one that's going to matter almost the most out of all those treatments at this point for his future, his ability to bounce back here and everything else. So keep in your prayers, send good thoughts or good words to Trenton Duper, quarterback of center. He needs your help just for that spirit. The uplifting of spirit is just as important as anything when you're going through something like this, especially at his age. So please send your love toward him. What do you got for us as a closing here in terms of things you're going to be watching for specifically this weekend?
Well, it's nice. Tonight we get a little appetizer, some Friday Night Lights games, highlighted by Endicott versus WPI, which is probably the most interesting, or at least my favorite matchup out of those four. And then Saturday we have another slate of about 95-ish games across the country, and they're really staggered out. There's going to be some great noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and then the real primetime games. There'll be like Huntington and Birmingham Southern, Tech, Wheaton, and Trinity, 7 p.m. Eastern. But I think most of the nation will probably tune in early on at 1 o'clock to see how the Crusaders and Warhawks match up. hopefully that game is not a pay-per-view. I'm not a huge fan of the pay-per-view situation. I know that there's some teams out there that do that, but hey, I'm pretty sure the Warhawks like to keep their video open, so I'll be checking that out, I'm sure, along with several other 35, 60 games or something, multiple screens going, just like every other weekend.
I see KJ Miller, just his father actually has just put me into a comment on Facebook, and I'm a little scared to read it after he's probably watching our prediction show right now,
Yeah.
and me saying 14. So what was your final score again? You had a much higher, I know that.
Yeah, I think it was like 45-17 or 21. Yeah, I think the Crew is gonna keep doing what they're doing.
We're gonna find out, and I could be definitely wearing some egg on my face on this whole thing. So we'll see how this goes. I am never shy about this stuff. That 14-7 Frank Rossi quote from KJ, sometimes you got to make them into believers, no hard feelings. So from our interviews last week. Oh, God. You know what? I probably deserve that.
There aren't any receivers or defensive backs that I think are, from the Midwest that have seen guys like Brandon Jordan and KJ Miller. I'll just putting it out there. They're going to have a hard time keeping those guys in check.
Oh, I hear you. And like I said, you can't necessarily stop all the weapons, but this is a different game scenario. This is definitely a different game for them. And this is not going to be 62-13, okay? Let's just make this clear. Whitewater is going to bounce back a little bit on offense, and as I said, the defense needs to step up. And what was telling to me was when Tommy Bowden said to me, even despite a good game by him, 6.5 tackles, 1 for loss, and the pass deflections, and I believe they gave him a forced fumble as well, that he needed to improve. That it wasn't a great game. He didn't feel for him, at least, and the tape would tell. So they know they didn't play as pristine as they should, but it's going to be a challenge to do it against that offensive line, especially of Whitewater. I don't care what year it is. I don't care if Quinn Miners is there or not. They are a tough line. That's just the Wisconsin football mentality, period. So that's why this thing lines up a lot differently. This is why going into the game last year in the semifinals, we thought that it could be really close. And, look, kudos to the Crew for jumping out and staying out in front in that game the way they did. They punched them in the mouth, and there wasn't really much of a response from Wisconsin Whitewater in that game. But as much as UMHB and Coach Harmon say, we're just going to drag out that video from 2019 in terms of how they knocked us out of the playoffs and just jumped on us early and often, Whitewater is able to say, we're able to pull out the tape from 2021 in the same general manner. And so this is going to be a close game. This is exciting to have it this early in the season. I just hate the implications that it really could create some problems to get both of these teams into the playoffs, because these still are, in my mind, 2 playoff-worthy teams. And Whitewater will not have an easy path, that's for sure, if they lose, nor will Mary Hardin Baylor. The loser of this game is going to be on the outside fighting to get back in, realistically, based on how we've seen things play out over the last couple of years, or last couple of seasons at least. Okay, JB, I'll tell you now, I'm going to be heading out to WPI. I was trying to call our friend Rusty Egan to tell him myself here that I'm going to come out and see the Endicott WPI game.
Worcester.
Hopefully I can get credentials. Yep. So I will see everybody out in Worcester later on tonight. Then come back for Carnegie Mellon at RPI tomorrow. Coach Larson and Coach Isernia. Coach Isernia is going to probably have a bone to pick with me, but hey, what's new? And maybe I'll bring this and wear this if they win once again. So,
yeah,
who knows? But folks, thanks for joining us. We will see you next week. In the interim, we'll have some Twitter action going on and some post-game interviews and all that stuff that we normally do. But we'll see you next week. Probably on Monday or Tuesday. We'll try to figure out if we can get crunch time in the bag on Monday for you, so you get your action that you want to see Monday night. Yep, exactly. Stay tuned.